Welcome to Aliens with JW, the podcast where aliens have conversations with humans. Today's episode is something really special. I'm sitting down with one of my best friends. We have shared laughs and crazy memories. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hello, Joshua. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to speak with you as usual.
Thank you, my brother. We always talk all the time, so I figured it'd be great to have you on the show for us to actually talk and people get to know a little bit more about us and our friendship. So, let's start at the beginning. How did we first meet?
Wow. Well, we first met in college, and I was just a freshman. Some random kid coming in to play on NYU Poly's basketball team. Well, at the time, it was Polytechnic University, and then got purchased by NYU.
Yeah, I just remembered seeing somebody that was 6'7", and I was like, "Who is this kid? Kind of tall." And then they were like, "He's gonna be your roommate," and I was like, "Cool, he's my roommate. I can
Yep.
live with that." So that's what I remember meeting you. Like,
Yep. And so we lived in an apartment, which was kind of crazy for being a freshman to actually get an apartment there. So that's like a middle shared area with a bathroom, a kitchen, a pretty large living room for New York City. And then your bedroom was to the right, and you were sharing that with Mr. Arjun Ori. And I was on the left sharing it with Thomas DeMarco. Yeah, that was great.
bringing back memories. That's bringing back lots of memories. Um, so this is gonna lead to my next question. What was your first impression of me? Be honest.
Um, in a word, intimidating because of your basketball prowess and what you've done in your past, and just hearing stories about you, the way when you were at Mount Zion, like fadeaway three-pointers falling into the crowd and from the corner threes. That's wow. And being like, okay, great. Now I'm joining this team with these really talented dudes who are all like basically seniors at the time, and trying to live up to that expectation was like, oh, don't fuck this up.
And my first impression of you was, I'm gonna make you be my little brother, and I was gonna show you around New York, show you the ropes, take you places, basically look out for you. That was basically when I saw you, that was basically what my goal was to do. Because when I first came to New York City, like I'm from New Orleans, you're from Colorado, so it was like I wanted to make sure you had a good experience the same way that the seniors and grad students did for me. So that was my honest opinion for you, like when I met you.
And I'm not going to lie, you did a phenomenal job because you introduced me to all of the older guys, such as like Felix and everybody. And I don't know if you remember, but you took me out one of the first nights to a Brazilian club. Yes, that was a lot of fun.
Oh, well, I vaguely remember that night. It was a good experience, lots of fun. I know I took you out to lots of different places as well. But we could keep it G-rated. We don't have to go too much into detail about what happened in that place. I don't remember. We could keep it G-rated.
Yes, all we did was dance and have a few drinks because at the time I was 21, so it was completely legal.
Yes, thank you for putting it out there that you were 21 and you were a legal age to go to nightclubs.
Yes, I feel like that's important to actually
That is
mention.
highly important. That is highly important. How would you describe our friendship?
Um, it might sound a little corny, but brother from another mother just rings absolutely true. Like like you said, you took me under your wing. You made sure, like New York City, it's easy to kind of let people take advantage of you, especially if you just aren't used to like the big city and that kind of life, right? But you definitely like provided a lot of guidance, and especially with like other of your friends, awesome people. They're all just super kind. So that was it was pretty great. So for that, I have to actually thank you, and I'm pretty sure my mother would thank you as well for not letting me get into trouble in the big city. Because when we went to such a small college, we didn't have like if you think about like CU Boulder or Duke or UNC or UCLA or anything like that, or Louisiana. No, we like our dormitory was like our backyard was New York City. Like
Yeah.
that's and we go to like different types of bars, clubs, social gatherings, if you will, such as like West Fourth Street with the cage, the basketball area. Like, yeah.
And like the next question would be is like, what's one thing people would be surprised to learn about our friendship?
Um, I don't know if people would be surprised because I hope that other people have the same kind of relationship. But if you and I don't talk for like a week, 2 weeks, a month, once we start talking, we don't skip a beat. It's just, yeah, hey, here's an update from me, here's an update from you. And we're like, wow, this is great, because we are pretty much in constant contact. So
Yeah, I think one thing they might be surprised about was we started off as roommates,
mhm.
and two
Oh,
years later, I became your basketball coach, which is a weird thing to be started off as roommates in school together, and 2 years later, I'm the head coach coaching your basketball team. That was a super weird moment in a friendship.
yes, but that was also like, I don't know, you're still coach to me now. Like, that's how that works, Coach Washington. Yeah.
I'm laughing because of that's like weird. Like that's I don't look at you as a player. I look at you as like one of my best friends and my little brother. So that's how I look at you now. So it's like even when you all was coaching, it was awkward for me because I look at you as my little brother. And so I was like, "Go, Jason! Go, little brother!" And I was like, "Hold up, I'm his coach." Like it's like really weird.
Yeah, and you're also like, "Hey, yeah, I love the fact you're rebounding, you're putting up these points, but you missed this defensive assignment. You keep missing them, Jason. What's up?" So you had to like get on my butt a little bit about all that stuff.
Yeah, so that was for me. It was really weird. And after it was over, I think feel like we became better friends after I stopped coaching. I felt like our friendship went back to what it was before I was a coach.
Definitely. I totally agree with that actually. Yeah. And then I mean, obviously the level of respect was always there, but like even after college, after, you were in grad school, you graduated, I was playing for the Manhattan Pride for like 2 seasons, but you ultimately helped me out. And, that's where our friendship really grew. And also the level of respect just kept going up. Even to this day, I just respect you more and more, especially with like these these characters and everything that these aliens you created. It's pretty special just knowing that you have this creative mind, but you're an engineer in your heart and soul. I'm like, what's your secret? Like, how are you so
Yeah,
creative?
yeah, yeah. I would say engineering is still true to my heart because to create these characters is a level of engineering,
Yeah,
from like the
it is.
latex mask to the material to the spandex and to like measuring and the structure and the measurements. It's still a lot of engineering. It's a lot of like mathematical calculation and stuff, but it's doing it in a different way. The durability, the sustainability of the mask. It's still highly engineering. I'm not trying to geek out or like engineering and get too technical about it, but it's a lot of it's still there.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm pretty sure there's trial and error with first prototypes and all this kind of stuff, right? So that is the engineering behind it.
Yeah, the first prototypes, I couldn't see out the masks. Literally, I couldn't see anybody. Like I was running into walls. I was stumbling over things. I couldn't breathe. Like now I could breathe through the mask. Now you can actually hear my voice.
Loud and
Um,
clear, which is great.
yeah, so they have ears now. At first they had no ears. But the transition to this is like it's been a long time coming.
Good, and dude, I'm really proud of you. Like between that and like the books that you've created and everything, again, leaning on like this creativity. Wow, good job, man. Like I'm very proud of everything that you've done.
Uh, Oh, and talking about the books, like
Yeah.
which one or which character is your favorite one?
Honestly, I have to say King Orbit is my favorite character. Um, Mainly because he's kind of the main fixture within the books and everything, but also just kind of like his personality. I'm like, I get it. You know, I understand, and he's not like an intimidating character, but he's always looking out for other people. So yeah.
Yeah. And King, actually, it's interesting. This character is based off of King Orbit.
Okay, can you remind us for the crowd what's the name of this character?
This is actually JW. This is like JW. So
Mhm.
I created my alter ego based off of King Orbit, and this one has ears, he has horns. So yes, JW is my alter ego, and I based it off of King Orbit's aesthetics.
That's honestly, Josh, that's amazing. And I do have to say the fact that off the bat, it does look like, oh my gosh, is this character frustrated? Is it intimidating? But then you just saying it's JW, it's your alter ego. I'm like, oh, that's why you have hearts as eyes. That's why it's not like a face that's like, I'm frustrated. It's more of like almost concern, like, hey, how can I help you? Kind of thing, you
Yeah,
know?
it's
Yeah.
kind of like love, it's like hearts. We all have a heart, and I was like, it's love, and I'm like, how can I? It'd be cool to make the hearts as eyes, and it'd be a little different style.
Absolutely. Um, yeah. So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Why does this character have horns?
Why does it have horns?
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of vampires.
All right.
I'm a huge fan of vampires and other type of movies, and I was like, it'd be very cool to combine one of my activities and genres that I'm super excited about
Mhm.
and put it with my characters.
I love it. That's what, so again, leading back to like your books and all these characters that you've created is one thing that you're able to capture really well is actually making them very like personable. So like that's why it's like not intimidating. It's more of like, wow, like what's the story behind this person? Like kind of like with King Orbit. I had to dive directly in during your first book of like, who is King Orbit really? Like, is he just misunderstood? Is it just no? But it turns out, yeah, there's a lot of depth and breadth to all of the characters and the imagery that you do within your creativity.
Thank you. Because it kind of like, it all starts off with King Orbit. And he's like the first king. He creates the empire that the other kings, the other kings in the series and the books, basically, if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be a world. So it's kind of like cool, like what you said, like it starts with him. He's like one of the main visions in the story, one of the main individuals, which actually leads me to my next question, because wasn't for King Orbit, they wouldn't be able to build books, wouldn't be any series. Um, for you, like, what has changed the most for you over the years?
Um, I mean, to be absolutely honest, the fact that I have my beautiful bride, Alexandra, that has been one of the largest changes. Also, back in 2014, it wasn't really abrupt, but I decided to move back to Colorado because that hustle and bustle from New York City, like it does kind of take it out of you, just because like I was living at the time in Harlem and going all the way down to Rockefeller Center. So I was on the train like sardines, just crammed in, wearing a full suit. And now I get to work and I'm sweating. So what did I do? I listened to you and I had a whole wardrobe change when I would get to work. So I wouldn't have to just be a sweaty mess trying to do analytics and building out the Salesforce org for Time Inc. It was just so much nicer because you warned me about that. So thank you.
Yeah, that's that one thing about working in New York City. You might literally walk 2 to 3 miles before you get to your office. And
Yes, sir.
how do you manage that? Do you have a change of shoes? Do you have your dress shoes in your desk? Do you
Mhm.
have another dress shirt with you hanging up somewhere in the office to make sure that you didn't sweat through your shirt? Do you do you go to
Yeah.
the gym? Right? Do you get a gym membership next to your office? That way you can take a quick shower, then go to the office. That's like when you walk like 2 to 3 miles a day just to get to work.
Yep. And thank you for that, by the way, because when I worked, so I worked by Grand Central for like the very first part right out of college. And then from there, I went and worked at Time Inc., which is in Rockefeller Center. But the one thing that was very convenient was going to the 24-hour fitness, the Derek Jeter one right there. They had showers, they had a sauna, a swimming pool, a freaking steam room. It was just great. So I would have to time box myself. I have 1 hour for lunch, go there, do like a quick shower right after working out, and then kind of walk back to my office because there was no really direct route with like a train or anything because it's within, I don't know, 8 blocks or so. So yeah, that was great. But at the end of the day, staying in shape after college was also something you told me to do. So you got to keep
Oh,
working out.
yeah, I think, oh my God, I learned something from myself. It's like once I stopped playing basketball and being around sports, I felt like I gained like 20 pounds. It was like, that's something we never talk about. They might
No,
talk
yeah,
about, hey, when you go to college, you might gain some weight, but they never talk about when you stop playing sports and you stop having practice 6 or 7 days a week, and there's nobody making you and telling you to work out. What are you going to do? And for me, I gained like 20 pounds and I was like, hey, anybody else, when you stop playing sports, find an activity that makes you excited about and you want to continue to work out and it doesn't feel like you're working out. So I went
yeah.
to boxing. I started boxing and that made me feel good for me.
Okay, so you started talking about boxing. I knew you were into that kind of stuff, and that was actually a little bit of inspiration for me because after college and everything, playing basketball, it's such a team sport, right? You're reliant on the 4 other folks on the court that you're there with, your teammates, right? So what I did is I kind of pivoted, like kind of looking at what you were doing, and I decided to go into kickboxing and Muay Thai because at the end of the day, that's on you. It's like, yes, I am showing up. Yes, I am working out. Yes, I am understanding the techniques and everything, but I'm not reliant on somebody making this layup, me dishing to the right person for the 3-pointer. Now it's more like, hey, it's on you. Are you going to go work out today? Yes or no? And I found that to be like a very nice transition.
Yeah. And
I don't
also
like
like
being punched in the face, though. That is being kicked
yeah.
in the head. I got kicked in my side one time. It'll almost make a grown man cry. I had to do a lap around the gym. I was just like, I don't want to hold the bag for you anymore. Like that really hurt.
Yeah. That's the one thing about boxing is getting hit in the face. It makes you question, do I really want to do this?
Yep.
Am I paying money to get beat up?
Yeah.
Am I really doing that? Yes, I am. And I enjoy it.
Yes. Take your lickings and keep on kicking.
Yeah.
Literally.
And it was like it also like CrossFit. I joined CrossFit to get that team experience because of that
Yeah.
CrossFit environment is very similar to being on a sports team where you're working out with each other. Everybody's encouraging each other to be their best that they can be. And you don't really get that many environments where you get that sports-like environment where people are cheering for you to achieve. So I think also CrossFit was one of those major things I did as well that was super beneficial. And it actually it's in the books. So like the workouts that everybody's doing in the graphic novels is basically based off my experience from doing CrossFit.
Wow. Connected that dot for me. Thank you. Because I see the illustrations and everything, and I'm like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Um, and also I feel like the aspect of community, because like after you're done at a CrossFit class, it's like, oh, let's go grab a beer. Let's go hang out and grab some food, some appetizers or something like that. And then you really get to know the people that are kind of like-minded, that actually share the kind of same healthy lifestyle of maintaining movement and all that. You see more and more people like that. And it's just kind of great. And I'm pretty sure they're all like pretty much the same age because that's kind of the classes you glom onto, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Leads me to my next question. How do we push each other to be better people?
Wow. In a word, accountability. Because it's like I know when I call you, you're gonna ask me, how is your wife doing? How's Alexandra? Like for instance, yesterday was Father's Day. We haven't had the moment to actually chat about it, but yeah, I was hanging out with my father-in-law pretty much all day, starting at church, going to a brunch at the house, and then ending up at a really nice beer garden that's over here where we live. And just at the end of the day, celebrating and hanging out and celebrating him. But also at the same time, since my father lives in Atlanta, being able to call him, have that conversation as I'm driving around and everything. Um, yeah, so accountability is like the number one thing, honestly. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I would agree with that accountability. I think as being friends, like you have to call each other accountable because it makes us better. It makes us better people. And
yeah,
I think that's actually the interesting part about friendship. You know you actually are friends when you actually can hold each other accountability. When you can actually share things with each other. If let's say if your friend makes you upset, you can actually share it with your friend and they take it in a way that's hey, I understand I hurt your feelings, bro. Like, sorry, man. Because think about it.
right.
It's very rare that a man says he's sorry to another man. It's really something that we don't do really, but with your friends, it's good to be able to do that with friendships.
Exactly. And that's like there's like a saying my mother used to say is like people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, which is like to me, I know it's kind of a stretch, but it's like, hey, if you have a friend and you say the wrong thing and they try to like end your friendship and do all this crazy stuff, I'm like, well, how close were you guys really? Like, because you need an aspect of grace, especially with me because I will mess up sometimes and say the wrong things and do stuff. But you've always been tried and true, and then also you do pull me aside and you're like, hey, J Buck, did you really mean to say it like that? And I'm like, no, I didn't. I was just a little frustrated during that moment in time. But again, grace. So thank you, brother, for giving me some grace in my life.
I think it's interesting, right? Because we play sports, right?
Mhm.
And sports is one of the only places you can say some off the wall stuff and people don't get offended. You can pound on your chest. You can say the craziest things and people be like, yeah, bro, that's what's up. You can't say
Yeah,
stuff like that outside of sports. So, in
people
coming
look
from a
at you like
sports
you're crazy.
environment, we had to kind of like learn, hey, there's things we just can't do in public, or there's just things we just can't say to people on a day-to-day basis that we could say in a sports world.
Exactly. And even sometimes in the sports world, people are a little sensitive when they don't need to be. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not yelling at you because you missed your free throws. I'm yelling at you because I expect you to make your free throws. So just do a little bit better next time or just whatever. But like that doesn't really work in like the real world. It's more of like, you got to hold somebody's hand, this, that, and the third. But that's where our friendship comes into play, where I'm like, Joshua is doing this out of a place of like love because he wants to see his friends succeed and himself succeed versus criticism and just like, why are you doing that? So that's another huge reason why like we're still best friends to this day, man.
Yeah. And coming from a place of love, what's the funniest or most ridiculous thing we have ever done? Keep it G rated.
Oh man, I thought of something else, but I'll think of something else. Oh, so you were coaching us, okay? So we're playing basketball, and at Polytechnic University, NYU Poly, it doesn't work like you get big coach buses driving you over, or you hop on planes. No, you're in a 16 passenger van, and most of the time, the head coach is driving. You're the head coach. So I will never forget driving to up through Albany. I think we were playing at Sage, and let's just say the game did not go that well. Um, Being able to see you keep your composure as we're driving back, also feed us and everything, that was really nice. Even though we all knew you were mad, we did not play well. We did not play as a team, and a couple players got into some fights. I don't think you were in the locker room for that, but yeah, but like you just were able to keep your composure, drive us safely and everything. And I don't know how you did it to this day. Like, wow, you were raised properly. Let's say that.
Uh, I just make it up as I go. I think in life, I think I make this joke. It's now that the age that I am,
Mhm.
and you know how when we were younger, we used to think our parents knew what they were doing, and then
Oh
we
yeah.
got to the age that our parents were when they had us, and you
Mhm.
realize They didn't know what they were doing. They just was making it up as they go, and they just hoped they did the best.
Yeah.
Same thing with me when I was coaching. First time doing things, and I was just like, let me lean in on my morals. Let me lean on my faith and be like, what would Jesus do in these moments? I don't talk about religion often, but I'll be like, what would Jesus do? And I'll be like, he would do this or he would do that. You know what? That's the greatest example in the world. So let me just try to follow those examples. And so that's
There you
basically what I did.
well, let's just say we all felt it and we all understood, and that's why it was like, yes, like I was your roommate. Yes, I understand that. But the moment you became a coach, just that level of respect immediately comes with that title. And I'm like, yes, he is my brother, but right now he is my coach. He's an authority figure, and I need to actually listen to him, because it's not like he's trying to hurt us. He's not trying to do anything crazy, running extra 17s because I would miss them all the time, but make them on the third. Yep, you're probably laughing hard as hell with that one.
I've died because of the 17s did not come from me. That was from my coach. He used to make us do 17s. And I
Mm.
was like, but if I ever become a coach, I want to have people do that. But the main reason why we did 17s, because it was 20 minutes of time on the calendar that I was like, wow, it takes 20 minutes to do 17s. Wow, that's time management.
Wow, I did not know. Okay, so you weren't just being mean to us.
Yeah, that was
You
time
just
management.
okay, great.
It was
Well,
time
now
management and cardio.
the more you know. So that's crazy.
And if you
That
think about
cardio
what a
is
17, and at the end of the game, you need to be able to get up the court within a certain amount of seconds and
yes.
do something. And the time that you gave was like, I think it was 4 seconds per. It was like 4 seconds for some of the runs. So if you could do it in 4 seconds at the end of practice when you're dead tired, I'm like, bet at the end of the game, when the game's on the line, I know we could get up the court and get a shot off.
Heck yeah. Because I think it was like 4 seconds rim to rim. Like just
Yeah.
as you sprint as hard as you can. Yeah. So that's actually what I had in my head every single time. I'm like, let me just be the first person up the court. Cause like as one of the tallest members of our team, I have to run rim to rim, even though you gave me a huge blessing by allowing me to go ahead and start pulling the trigger from the 3 point line, and that worked out pretty well. But yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense as far as time management. Because the other thing too, Josh, as you were coaching us, was practices would be like 2 to 3 hours long, and I'm like, how is he filling this time with like meaningful drills? To make sure everybody's better, but also we were coming together as like a cohesive unit, like a brotherhood, I guess, like on the court. Yeah, so that was pretty great. But I guess my question is like, how did you fill the rest of that time? Because that's like almost 3 hours of practice on a Saturday morning. By the way, is a long time to practice.
So this is going to be funny because when we went to engineering school,
Yeah.
we use project planning apps and stuff. I literally used a project planning app to plan the practices. So like I had the main topic, the subgroups, and it was like, oh, and I basically put in the subgroups and categories, and I had time frame. So literally, the applications that we use in college, like project management applications and project planning, I use those same softwares to build out the actual practice plan with timing.
That's amazing because I believe you introduced me to MS Project, Microsoft Project, and that, good Lord, I use that still to this day. Like, I have to go into Jira and do project management. I also implement that for people nowadays, and I'm like, that's smart that you use that. Actually, I'm pretty sure um, some of my other coaches definitely just had a notebook and writing things down, which is again another tactic. But for you to actually use technology to help bridge that gap, that's pretty awesome and speaks directly to like the degrees we have, business and
And
technology management.
the
Shameless.
other thing that I used to do was I used to go to like the Knicks open practices and like see what they did. So like the Knicks used to have an open practice at the beginning of every season that was free to the public. And
All
so
right.
people were going as fans. I was going as a fan, but I was seeing their drills. I was looking at how long it took them to do that open practice, and I just was writing notes. Oh, this drill took this amount of time. This drill took this amount of time, and so when we started practicing, a lot of the same drills that y'all were doing was in the Knicks open practice drills.
No wonder some people struggled doing that because there's like high level drills. You're asking a professional athlete to do that, and then you're asking some college kids to do it. So no wonder some people were struggling a little bit. But at the end of the day, we all got together and it was fine. But that's kind of crazy that you would do that, and also very resourceful and smart because I would never think to do that until now.
Oh, I have no problem. We're copying things from other people that are doing it better than me and learning from them. I think that's like the whole part of life is seeing somebody doing great at and figuring out how can I adopt it to me and to what we're doing.
Yeah, and then I feel like also, would you see where part of it would fail, and you're like, if we tweak it like this, it'll be better for us to actually do it.
Yeah, I think that's like part of life. It's just like experimenting. Everything's an experiment. I
Yeah,
think even like with my book series, everything I wrote was an experiment. I'm going to actually wind up doing a part two of all my books at some point
yes, let's
because the
go.
first one was an experiment. Like this podcast, it's really a social experiment. And I
Right.
just love experimenting. It's something that we did in college. We did a bunch of research, experimenting to figure out what works. If it doesn't work, I'm like, hmm, how can I tweak it to make sure it does work in the future? If it doesn't work, how can I tweak it again? How can I make alternatives again? So yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I don't know. So, question for you. Um, so at such a young age, when you kind of took over the reins of NYU Poly basketball and everything, and you had to deal with some folks, which you were already in the program for so long, so you know the director of athletics, all that good stuff, and they're great people. How did you have to pivot from being a player into an authority figure as an actual like coach? And how did you demand, because you got the respect, like you got that respect, how did you get that respect? How did you demand that from becoming from my roommate, hey Josh, let's go out to the club, to yes coach, I will be at practice, yes we will run the Brooklyn Bridge, yes I will make sure people are lifting weights.
I would say it's very similar to just treat people the way they want to be treated and treat people like they're humans. I think that's one of the biggest and most important things is this just having just communicating with people and trying to show them that you actually care about them as a person. So it's like when you first get to know people, it's like asking them certain questions and like about themselves, getting to know who they are, right? And just doing things that you show up for them. It's like those type of things. And it's like also sharing things about yourself that that's important. Like if people are making mistakes, you'd be like, "Oh man, you good? I've done that before. I made the same mistake. Don't worry about that." And
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, it's not a big deal." It's just kind of like when things go wrong. It's just like the biggest thing with respect is when things go wrong. How do you interact with people? How do you talk with them? Do you make them feel good about themselves, or do you make them feel bad about themselves?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I've had some coaches that would lose their mind and like flip out completely when I was younger. And yeah, it's just like under meeting people where they're at. That makes a lot of sense to me. And you did a great job at that. And yeah, it was also interesting because you were juggling some other hats too while you were our coach. Because I remember I was helping you out with like work study stuff, doing marketing, like just trying to drive foot traffic to our games, right? At an engineering school, a lot of kids just want to study, 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 as you should, because like you're paying for this education, so take advantage of it. But also, it's like, hey, the social aspect. And I feel like by my senior year and everything, there was a buzz almost about like, oh, let's go to this game. We're gonna have fun. These players are very approachable afterwards, and even coaches are very available afterwards. unless he's frustrated, then it's fine. But
That,
just give
and
him
that
like 30
leads me
minutes.
to my next question about having fun.
Yeah.
What's an inside joke we share that makes you still laugh today? You can go ahead and say it. I think I know what it is. You go ahead and say it. It's okay to say it. Just go with it. I know what you're about to say. It's okay to say it.
You know what? Fuck that garbage can.
We're
Sorry.
not going to go into what that means or where that comes from. I know what happened. I did something, and that's all. We'll keep it there. It's,
It was
it's
the
still an
funniest
inside joke.
moment. I still laugh with my buddy Eddie and Anthony about that as well. It's just like the funniest thing in the world.
And that leads into for this last part, I'm going to ask you some random questions and say the first things that come to you.
Like a Rorschach test. All right, let's do it.
If we had a reality show, what would it be called, and what would be the first episode?
Did you say if we have a radio show?
Or a reality show?
Oh, a reality show. The Real Ballers of NYU Poly. So that
That
goes
is,
into like what happens in the locker room, behind it, in the dorms, how we used to do 8-minute abs consistently as a team, just piled into one room. Yes.
oh man, that's funny. A bunch of the behind the scenes of engineering life. This is how engineers live their lives when they're not playing sports. That's very fascinating.
Mhm.
The next question would be, what does real friendship mean to you today?
This is going to get deep. Real friendship for me personally, um, I have friends, but I don't have like a ton of friends, right? So like I can count my friends on basically if I had five or sorry, three hands, like that's like as many people I consider like super duper close to. So real friendship is, hey, I can leave you in the room with my family and you're not going to say something crazy. I can leave you in the room with my wife and you're not going to say something embarrassing or crazy from my past. Like it's cool. She knows it, like almost everything. So I'm not, there are no secrets here. Right. But then also it's like real friendship is like, you do this all the time. You ask me, hey, Jason, how's your mother doing? And I'm like, wow, that's, I love my mother with all my heart. She's one of my favorite people on the face of this earth. And you always ask, but you actually ask not as like going through the motions, you care. So like caring, asking a question, listening, responding, and really caring and remembering what I said. That shows true and utter friendship. And again, not a lot of people have that mechanism, that gear in their head where they actually care. A lot of people are like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you did that. Hey, how was your trip? Da, da, da. And I'm like, no, no, no. Why did I travel? What was up with that? And that's true friendship in my mind. What about
I like
you?
it. My next question is going to be, if you were a character in a movie or TV show, who would you be?
Bradley Cooper and Limitless.
Luminous?
Um, Limitless. So
Oh,
it's when he takes that pill, like NZ-17, whatever, and then he taps into the rest of his brain, and now he's just like ready to go. I would want to be him, and like that would be my character. Minus all the bad stuff, because yeah, it got out of hand, and like people were trying to kill him because he had the drugs hidden in the stove. Spoiler alert! But that movie's old, so I hope nobody watching is like mad at me for that. But
if
yeah.
if if you wrote a book about friendship, what would the title be?
Um, wow, that's a sorry, you stumped me with that one. I want to be really clever, but I'm not that clever or creative as a human. So, um, um, gosh darn it, that is hard. Some things never change.
I like that. That's a good one. That's a good title.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
could only have one superpower, which one would you choose?
Do are you going to give me a list of superpowers, or do you just want to know the one that I have on top of my head?
Yeah, the one on top of your head, the one that you would choose.
I'd love to fly, like
Okay.
just Superman style, like not like trying to flap wings or anything crazy, just more like dun, 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 and then I'm out. But that also comes with the superhero landing, right? So being able to land without breaking my legs and everything, but creating that crater the way Superman does, yeah, that would be mine.
That'll be stylish. That'll be So well, let me see. Let me see. Well, that's a wrap for today's show. Please thank you for Jason for taking the time to come on my show. If you like the conversation, feel free to share the video with a friend or a loved one. Until next time on Aliens with JW, the podcast where aliens have conversations with humans. Jason, once again, thank you for coming on the show, brother. We could chop it up and talk all day, but for time constraints, that's it for today. Talk with you later, brother.
All right, peace and love, brother.
Later.